Hello friends! In tonight's Unity tutorial, I want to go over with you how to make a character selection screen for your Unity game. A screen where, the player could pick if they want to be looking like this or looking like that. An example here of what we're going to make, I'll show you here in this little project where I have a scene that's a menu and a scene that's the game level. Alright, so when I press play, starting from the menu scene, just coming up here, you're going to see that before I start playing the game, I'll let the user or the player pick if they want to be the Mapleberry ship or the Blue Alpha ship. And then if they pick the Blue Alpha ship, the speed's going to be 6. If they pick the Mapleberry, the speed's going to be 8. But whatever they pick, it shows the ship here, it shows the little stats, and then they could say, I'm ready to go. I'm picking Mapleberry. And they say, go fight. And then they are in the game, they could control the ship and try to dodge the aliens. Okay? So what we're going to focus on is that character select screen, and then how the level uses the character they selected from the menu. So let's do it together, and we'll do it from scratch. So I don't skip anything that you may have a question for. I'm going to do it right from scratch. So let me exit this and start up a new Unity project. Okay, so we got the brand new 2D project, and here we see this outline of what the game screen will contain within it. Okay, and we're going to put in some text because, we're doing a screen that's going to be for a menu. So let's go to add a UI text from TextMesh Pro. And it's the first time I'm using TextMesh Pro in this project, so I have to import the essentials. Okay, now those essentials are imported. I close this window. And now I have my TextMesh Pro text object here, and I will call this text title for the game, okay? But you'll notice here there's another outline of a box that sort of came up when I have this text title. But when I click it, you'll notice that the UI screen is this bigger triangle here. Now, I could position my text using this view. I just had to zoom out and I could move it around like this. Or I'm going to do this first. Here, with the text title selected in the inspector window, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click here. This could lock my text in to different positions on the screen, okay? Basically like anchoring the text onto those positions. So I'm going to anchor it onto the top, and then maybe from the top I want to bring it down a little bit, just so it's not right at the edge. And I have here like some options to position it, the alignment of the text, center of the box, and also I could change it. So this is my, I just lost my selection. My character select screen, so I'll call the title character select screen. Okay, and we can see that the text is kind of overlapping because it's not big enough to fit in the yellow box. So let me just make the yellow box bigger. So whatever I put in there, let's see, I want the center to be right there in the center. See, center, and those dots are in the center. And I can change the size of the font. Okay, if I want to, I can make it bold if I want to, and then now I lost space again. So here's another button here. I could say auto size, and the text auto sizes to whatever the box is. So if I make the box longer or bigger, then the text gets bigger. So I got some title text. Then I'm gonna have to have my some buttons there. So here's another thing I like doing. I like putting my event system in the canvas thing. That's what I like doing. Because when I made the text title, it made canvas an event system. Text title. Now I right click on canvas and the pop-up comes up and I'm going to add a button. Button, TextMesh Pro. And there's the button. So this will be my play button to play the game after you selected your character. So I'll have a play button. And you're wondering, where's the text for this play button? Well, it's not there. It's inside the play button that it has a TextMesh Pro object again. And in here I could say the button play. You could call it play or whatever, okay? And this I'll move. I'm here on the screen here. I'm just going to drag this down. Oops, and that's the text. So let me press Control Z and undo. I have to make sure I select the button level and I'll drag this down. But maybe what I should do is have it anchor to the bottom. So I'll hold down Alt, click this, and then click the bottom. And then from the bottom, I pull it up. So when the user's ready to play, they can press the play. I'm going to make the play button bigger. So I'll click on the play button. And over here we have the scale, or we have the width and the height. So I will say that the height is double, 60. Oh, look, it has a nice little number 60 right there. All right, and that's my play button. And the cool thing with the play buttons is I could do some colors for highlighting and stuff. So let's see what it looks like now. I'm going to press play, and we'll see how the screen looks with the text and the button. And you can see when I put my mouse over the button, there's no color changing going on. But I could say make a color change for when my mouse goes over the button, and there's still no change going on. Let me see. Maybe I have to do it from here. I could give it a color, like a highlight color. Okay, you see how it's red for the highlight color. And now press play. And then when the mouse scrolls over it, it turns red. And then I can give it a color for when I press the button. So this is the pressed color. You can make it like a brighter red when you press it. And let's press play. Like that, and when I press it, it turns bright red. Alright, so I'll have a play button, I have the character select screen. You notice that the background's blue for that. And that's because the color is coming from the camera. Let me move this up. I need to have space to show my spaceships. Here on the camera, you see the main color for the background is blue. It's a solid color. You do a skybox. Let me see if I do the skybox. That's like when I do a 3D game and you have like the horizon, I believe. But this is a 2D game, so that doesn't do that. So I'll say solid color, and I could just pick a color. So like we saw, I'm having a space game, so I'll just make it a really dark blue for the menu. But you're gonna know you're on the menu because the color will be different there. Dark blue. And let's test that out. And there you go. So we got that. I think I could lower down the play button a little bit more too. Alright, so in here now I'm going to have my ship, and I've got two buttons that I'm going to have to put there to change the ship. So let's add two more buttons on my canvas. Right click, UI, what's UI toolkit? UI, button, text mesh pro. Here's another button. So here's one thing, I just created a new button, but this button here, I had the highlight and press color already. So maybe instead of just adding a new button like that, I'm not going to have those properties. Let me delete that one. I'll select my button that I do have, then I'll just say Control D to duplicate it, and now I have a second one, and then Control D, I'll have a third one. So this one could be, as you're selecting ships, button previous, and this one could be button next. And now I just have to position button previous and button next. So I am going to select both of them, Alt, click, and have them positioned center. And I'm going to have to change the text for button previous to say previous. And for button next, I'll have it say next. Now let me move over the button previous a little bit to the side, and the button next to this side. And then now here in the middle, I could put my spaceship. Alright. So now I got these buttons. The buttons don't do anything yet, but they're on the screen. Now I need my spaceships. So I kind of drew some spaceships in 2D, and everything I'm using is free, so I'm going to do something here, and it's going to be a free tool too for you. So I'm going to open up my browser, and I'm going to use a tool I know is free. So I just did a search for free online drawing, and pretty much at the top here somewhere, here it is, Sketch.io. So let's go to Sketch.io. We could do a transparent background 2D image. Okay, so this works right online, right in the browser. And now I'm going to draw at least two spaceships. Okay, so I want to create, let me pick the size. I could either pick these sizes from here. Ooh, which size should I be? These are wide. I'm going to pick this here, 377. Oh no, I'll pick 300 by 250, create, and now there's a 300 by 250 transparent background. So now when I draw with this is the paintbrush tool right here. So I could pick it, and I could pick whatever tool I want to draw with here. There's all these different tools, okay? And then down here, I can pick the color that I start to draw with. So let's see, for my spaceship, I think what I'll do first is draw the inside, and then I'll outline the outside. So enemies, danger, maybe like a nice red. Okay, and then you can see here, there's also the line width, like how thick the line is that I'm going to draw with. So it's going to make it, like that. And then there's the blur. See what the blur does, makes it look like a spray paint or a nice hard line. I'm just going to use the hard line. All right, so now I just use my imagination. I'm just going to draw a spaceship. Make believe I have like these two things here. This is a ship that the player could be. And it could just be whatever you want. Okay. I'm just going to color it in a little bit with the red. Here's like a thing and a thing. And then a thing. Or whatever I'm doing. And then maybe I'll have a different color. Let's see. Whatever these things are, I'll make them a different color here. Glass. And this tutorial is not about my artwork. So I don't want to hear it. This is just about making a menu screen. Okay. There. And then maybe whole thing's to have some fun drawing something. This will be like where the thrusters come out, maybe. Yeah, so it's such a good picture I'm drawing. And let's make this a little bit skinnier. Also, good to make little sound effects when I am drawing. And now something for the top here where I guess the guns are going to work. Okay, so I got like a ship. Now I want to export it. So here I have a button, export, from this online program, export. PNG is what I want to use because I have to have a transparent background. So let's see, the project I'm in is character select. I think I called it, right? And here is, oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, the new project I was just character select screen, car select screen. That's this tutorial, assets. And in here, let me see here in the game, I just want to make a folder, create folder. I'm going to put this in a resources folder. And the folder has to be named resources in Unity, all right? Because Unity has a function to load from the asset screen at runtime, and we're going to use that. I'll get back to my, here we go. Nope, that's not the screen. What the? Here we go. Oh, here we go. No, oh, it's asking me to save, I think, yeah. Okay, export this ship I did. PNG, and I have to go back to the right game, assets, resources. Okay, so let's give the ship a name, Heart, A4, and save. And then we'll see here in Unity that the Heart A4 is there. Now let's make one more ship so we could actually select between two ships. So let me just try to do this really fast. What I'll do is I'll just say new, this, and it still has that. Okay, create, bam. Let's make another ship. Start off with, I still say dangerous red, but let's try this one instead, this purple. And let me get to a fatter line. So what will I make this ship look like? This is a player ship. Let's do this and this. Okay, ooh. And color it in. Choo choo choo, choo choo choo. Then change the color. Okay. Here like this, and maybe do this. This is like the mechanisms of my ship. And like get some thrust color. The whole idea is that I just have a choice of a ship. And black may not show up because I'm going to be on a outer space background. So let me try green, and I'll just draw some rings around here to emphasize that. Oh, whatever. I have another ship. Now I will say save or export another PNG. Thank you. It remembers the path. And let's call this one the finger. The finger U47, U72. Making it sound all technical. So I got two ships. Okay, now these are just, if you look at they're just PNGs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them into game objects. So remember, this is the big UI screen right here. I'm going to drag and drop one of these ships here onto my scene. Then I'm going to double click on it, and now we're going to go back to the game window, which is this window here. And what I want to do is I just want to turn my two PNGs into prefabs. So first I click them here, put them in the scene, and then I will, I put these PNGs in the resource folder. Let me make a folder instead called textures, because those are just images, right? So let me just say textures here. And let me change where I put these PNGs. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a little change here. Put them in the textures folder. Then in the resources folder, I will take here the game objects of them, and I'll just drag both of them in to here. And now these are prefabs. Okay, good. Now they will both be on the screen showing here. But what I want to do is I don't want to have the ship choices hard coded from my menu, so I'm going to take them off from the screen here, delete from the scene. All right. So my scene just has the hard coded things in the canvas, and it's not going to show any of the ships yet. Now what I'm going to do to control showing the ships is I'm going to make a script. So let me just add an empty game object here that I'm going to attach the script to and call it menu controller. And then I have to make a script for the menu controller that's going to load the ships that it sees in the resources folder. So I'm going to create a C# script. I'll call it menu controller. Enter. And now we're going to go into Visual Studio and start typing up something. So here's Visual Studio. Let me just gut this out and start off with the things I know I'm going to have back in the code. So I'm going to have something that's going to hold all the ships that are in my resource folder. So I'll make a private variable, private list of game objects. This is going to be my list of scene ships that are in the scene, equals new list of game objects. Okay. Also, let's see. So then when thing starts, private start, that's private void start. I'm going to load all the ships, the player ships. Okay. Let's make a function. So it's going to have a couple of things in it. Private void load player ships. And what are we going to do? So this is the menu controller script where it's going to have this list of ships that it's going to have created in the scene. But when you pick a menu ship, we want the next scene that loads to know what the ship was. So when we're going to find the names of the ships, I want to put them in something that all the scripts could see. So I'm going to make another script here called globals. I'm going to call it globals. Globals because this script, the values, I'm going to have it known throughout the entire game through all the scripts. So this won't be a mono behavior. And this one I'm going to make it static. Okay? And then in this static script, I'm going to create a public static list of game, well, this one's going to be names, strings, string, list ship names, list ship names, okay, equals new list of string. Now in the menu, scene, list of ships, I think I'll call this something different, list of ships, load all ships, just keep it simple. I cannot rename, why, because I spelled it wrong? Load player ships, copy, load player ships, paste. So here, first thing I have to do is I have to kind of get the names of all my ships. Since in globals I have the list ship names, let me have this get the names of all the ships. So I'll make a public static void get all player ship names that I can call from over here in the menu controller. So I'll say globals dot get all player ship names. Okay, so that this will be populated. So now let's do that in this function here, something to populate that. So I'm going to do is populate the ship names by reading from the assets resources folder. Okay, so whatever, if I have 3 ships in there, there'll be 3 ships on my menu. If I have 4 ships, 5 ships, 6 ships, there'll be that many ships to select from. For each string file in directory dot enumerate files. This is a C# file IO function. So you see it's underlined in red. I can just hover my mouse over that, say show potential fixes to find out what's the using statement I have to put in, system IO. So now it puts in the using statement and now it knows what directory is. And enumerate files. Did I spell that wrong or something? Let me see. Dot enumerate files. Oh, there we go. Bam. Now, what directory do I want to enumerate the files from? That's going to be my game folder assets directory. So first is the application.data path. So that's the path of my Unity project. And then once I get to the path of my Unity project, this takes me right to the assets folder part right here. Now I just have to say to look in, this will be a / resources. And you know what, I'm going to make a subfolder in there called ships, because maybe I'll have some other resources that'll just get dynamically loaded, like the enemies, star.prefab, any of the files that are star.prefab. And then I'm going to loop through all the files it finds in resources, ships. And let's just make this more accurate. So here in Unity, let's see, we have the resources folder. I put these two prefabs here, but let's get a little bit more organized, and then I'll make a folder called ships. And then I'll actually put these two in here. In case there's other prefabs, I know which ones are the ships. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the loop of all the files I find. But when I do the resources load function for Unity, I have to use just the file name without the extension. So here I'll say string name only equals path.get file name without extension. And then I'll just give it the file. So here when it's enumerating files, it's going to have the whole file, the full path of the file. Then over here, it's going to take the full path of the file and just get the file name and take off the extension. So basically that means here in the ships folder, it's just going to get the name finger U72 and heart A4. But you can see when I select finger U72 that the file is actually finger U72.prefab. I don't care about the prefab thing. Now the other thing is when I call this enumerate files, this tells it the path to enumerate the files from, and this has a little filter on the files to select in that path. Now, I said star.prefab. Star means whatever the name is, and then as long as the file ends in .prefab. So over here, this file ends in .prefab, and you say, oh, there's only two files here, so what do you have to worry about the filter for? Why don't I just say star.star? Well, if I kind of right-click and say Show in Explorer, you'll see that the files that are actually there in the folder for resource ships are the prefab file, and then two hidden files that you don't see in Unity, the metadata files. Okay? So I have to make sure I just want these that end in .prefab. And that's why in the script I have the filter star.prefab. All right, so now that I have the name only of the file, I want to make sure that I don't have that file in my list of ship names yet. So I'll say if, here it is, globals.list shipnames.contains the name only equals false, that it's not in the list yet. Then I will add it, globals.list ship names.add name only. All right, oopsie, name only, bam. So this just goes ahead and puts all the names that it finds in there into a list. And I'm calling that from menu controller. So now I got all the names in the resources folder in a list. So now in the menu script, which is running in a scene, in the menu scene, I want to create a ship in the scene from all those names. So I'll go for each string name only in globals.list ship names. What do I want to do? I want to load each one in. So first thing is I have to load into memory, and that would be done like this. The game object prefab into memory equals resources.load, and the kind of object I am loading is going to be a game object, and then the path to load it from. So the resources command, by default, it's already in, you know, here it's like assets, resources, blah, blah, blah. This is, by default, resources are already in the resources folder, so all I have to give it is whatever additional pathing, and that is the ships path plus my name only to give it the full path. Okay, so hopefully when this command runs, this object won't be null. It's going to look right here and load this object up and put it like right here in the scene. Well, actually, it's going to load this object up, have it in memory, but it's not putting it in the scene yet. So this one loads it into memory, and then this command here is going to put it in the scene. So another game object, because that was just me getting a prefab, now the other game object is going to be my object ship. equals instantiate. So I have to use Unity's instantiate function to actually create an object in the scene. What kind of object? It's going to be the prefab object. And the parent, I'll just have it be this transform. Whatever the script is attached to, it's gonna create the object in the scene under the child hierarchy of my menu controller empty game object. All right, so now that the object's in there, I want to make sure of a couple of things, like this object ship. I want to make sure the name equals the name only. Then I also want to make sure that where the ship is on the screen, so object ship dot transform dot position is vector 3.0. I'm going to have it right in the middle of the screen. And then, so I have a reference to it right here, the list ships. I'm just going to add it to that so I can have a reference to it when I press next and previous object ship. Oops, object ship, bam. And then this loop is going to load all the ships, of which I have 2 ships right now. This is going to load all the ships into the scene. And then after that, I want to make sure I'm showing the current ship. Show current selected ship and hide all the other ships. So I'm going to make a function for that. Show current ship. I'm going to make a function. Show current ship is what I'm going to call it. So right here, private void show current ship. Let's just skeleton that out. So if I have a list of all the ships and I want to know what the current ship is, it's probably like an integer value, an index value. So let me add a variable, private int. Ooh, and this value, I don't want it to be here in the menu controller. I want it to be in my globals so that when the game loads the level, it knows which ship is the current ship. Public static int selected ship. There we go. By default, it'll be 0. Okay, so now over here, we're going to loop through the list of ships, and the one that is the selected ship, we're going to make it active, and all the other ones we're going to deactivate. Okay, so we'll loop through list of scene ships, activate selected, and deactivate unselected, which will make them not show. So here we're going to loop through. So for int I equals 0 to list ships dot count I plus plus. So I'm going to do a for I loop instead of a for each loop. So if I equals the globals dot selected ship, then this is the one I want to show. So I will say list ships at I dot set active to true. That'll show it on the screen. Else, this is not an active ship, so list ship at I dot set active false. Okay, and set active true, set active false. That's basically the same thing as when you come here in Unity and you click this little box here to set something active or not in the scene. But I'm doing it in the script. Look, I'll just spell through like that. So now we have enough code that we've written that we should be able to see something happen. So let's attach the code to objects in our scene. Here's the menu controller. Right now it doesn't have any script attached to it, and for the menu controller empty game object, I'm going to attach the script there. And then globals doesn't have to attach to a script. Okay, so let's remember this is the game scene. This is the UI interface, which is like much larger, but it's there. And let's press play. And let me maximize this. Let's press play. Here we go. And there we go. We have the first ship showing. Then if I press next, nothing happened. Nothing happened, nothing happened. Now why did nothing happen? Because I didn't add code for these buttons to call when you click them. So I'm going to have to write some code for that. The code that's going to handle when those buttons are pressed, I'm going to put it in my menu controller script. All right, so let me go back to the menu controller script, and we're going to have to add some more functions that tell it what to do when you press a button. So let's add some functions here. Now the functions are going to have to be public so that we could see them in the inspector window, not private. So I'm going to say public void button next ship, no, button previous click. I'll just call it that. If you click the previous button, and public void button next click. If you click that, and there was one more button we put up there, that was the play button. So public void button play click. So for the button previous click, we're going to want to change our globals dot selected ship. We're going to want to subtract it. So minus equals 1, go back 1. But then if it's less than 0, we're going to wrap it around. So globals, if globals dot selected ship is less than 0, then we'll say globals dot selected ship equals globals dot list ship names dot count minus 1. So it wraps around. Then if you press next, it'll be the other way, globals dot selected ship plus equals 1, and if globals dot selected ship is greater than globals dot list ship names dot count, then I'm gonna have to wrap it around the 0. Selected ship equals 0. Okay, and play. I'm not gonna do anything yet, but I'll put a debug log so we can see when we press it that it does something. You pressed play and spell that right. Debug log. Okay, so now we got 3 functions. They're public. Now let's attach these public functions to happen when you do something when you press the buttons. For that, we'll have to go back here into the inspector. Let's do button play first. So button play, and let's also view the button play. Let's view the big view. Button play. Here's the on click. I could add events when you click it for button play to do. So on click, I'm going to add an event handler, and then the object that has the function or the method to call is my menu controller. So I drag my menu controller and put it right here. And then from the menu controller, I'm going to have in the menu controller, where's my button play click? Right there. I'm going to call button play click. For button previous, add an event handler. It's going to be with the menu controller game object, and then here the menu controller game object I'm going to call button previous click, and then for button next, add an event handler, drag and drop my game object that has the code that's going to handle it, pick from the menu controller script, button next click. Now when I click these buttons, something should happen. Let me save it and press play. Okay, so here we have the ship. I press next, and oh, guess what? It's not working. Time to debug. Time for me to debug. What about when I press play? Well, it says press play. So maybe there's just something wrong here in the next. So I'm still leaving the game running. Let me go to my script and say attach to Unity. And then let me put a breakpoint here to see what happens when I'm pressing play. And I'll put a breakpoint here to see what happens when I press next. Now I'll press next, and I come to the breakpoint. So selected ship equals 1. All right? That looks like that works. Then over here, global selected, oh, I think I know what happens. Global selected ship, it's going to be, it just stays at 1. But what I didn't do is I didn't tell it to show the ship and change the ships. I didn't show the ship. That's what's going on. Okay, not so easy. I didn't finish writing enough code here. So the button, after I change what the selected ship is, I have to show current ship. And spelling is good. Spelling is good. Okay, show current ship. Ding ding. Same thing over here. Show current ship. And since this is the selected ship and this is current ship, I think I'll make the names match better. So let me rename that to show selected ship. Apply. Save. Now, let's go back to the code. I think I have to start and restop. So let me press stop and then press start. Press next. And there you go. Hey, wait a minute. I have a next selection where I went right off and there's no ships. So I have an off by 1 error somewhere. And maybe it's right here. Greater than count minus 1. Off by 1 error. Now the reason I'm saying that is because in C#, the list, it starts from 0 and then 1. But the count will say there's 2 ships in there. So I have to say that if it's count minus 1. And that should fix that. Press play. Next, next. Okay, so now I'm only seeing the ships that are there. I think I'm going to just really quickly go and make a level screen that loads up the ship and shows it. So let me save this scene with a better name than sample scene. So file, save as, and I'm going to save it in my scenes folder of my game here, and I'll call this menu, save. And now I'm going to make a new scene, and I'll just call this a new 2D create, and I'm gonna save this one right now. Save as, in my scenes folder, level. Save. So now here in the level, this is where I'm gonna get a chance to. Here's my two ships, but right now they're just, as you can see, if I stick them in the scene, if I stick them in the level, just drag and drop and double click to come back to this window, they are just a transform and a sprite. It's just a sprite. There's no code or anything attached to them. So I'm going to have that, and I'm going to have this one too that I'm going to put in here. What I have to have is some code for them. I'm going to make them a ship that I could actually control. So I'm going to come up here to assets, and let me say create C# script. And these are my ships, right? So I'll just call the script ship control or player. I'll just call it player because that's who you're gonna play as, one of these guys. So one of the main things you're going to do is control the movement of the ship. So public float move speed equals, let's say by default, like a 6 or something. And then in the update function, we will move the ship. Now this is easy. We just get the inputs for the vertical, which could be input.getAxis vertical, oopsie, vertical, and get a horizontal value equal input dot, damn it, sorry guys, input dot get axis horizontal, and these are values from -1 to 0 to 1. I get those values, and now I just move the ship. This dot transform, I'm going to use translate. New vector 3 horizontal times the move speed times time dot delta time. I'm really a great speller. Oh my god. Time dot delta time. And then for vertical times move speed. And I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to reduce the speed by half on the vertical times time dot delta time. And it's a vector 3, so I need a z, but we're in 2D. So z doesn't even have to move. So I'm just going to put 0 and semicolon. Okay. And I got a red squiggly because I need one more parenthesis there. So that'll move the ship. Alright, so this is going to move the ship. And that's all I need there. And I guess, let's see, there we go. So I should be able to see on here, I got two ships here. I'm going to put the script on the ships. So here's my player script. Here's finger U72. I'm going to put the player script on him. And here's heart A4. I'll put the player script on him. Now, just for the fun of it, we can make one ship faster than the other. Which ship looks like it should be faster? I don't know. So let's make finger ship move at a speed of 8. And heart AD, let's make it move. We'll leave it at 6, just for a variation when you're picking the ships to have some properties that are different. And now if I press play, and I should be able to move them around. Yep, and you see one's moving faster than the other. So I go up and down, it moves at half the speed, and I did that on purpose because you see there's only so much up and down I can go. And to move sideways, it's this speed. So now I have two prefab objects with the scripts on them. I did that here to the scripts in the scene, but here in this window, I still don't have that. So what I'm going to do is let me delete these. I think there's probably other ways to do this, but I'm just doing it like this. Delete and unpack. Those are gone. And now these with the scripts on them, I'm going to take them and put them and drag them into the ships folder. And now they're prefabs with the script. Prefabs with the script. Okay, file, save. So what I did here was I made a level scene and I made a menu scene. The sample scene I don't need anymore. I could delete it. Now I'm going to have to, for my menu to be able to go ahead and switch and load the level scene, I'm going to have to tell Unity what my scenes are in the game. So to do that, I'm going to go to File, Build Settings, and over here it says Scenes in the Build, Scenes in my game. So what I could do is I could just drag and drop each of the ones that I want here into this thing. and sample scene was deleted. That's why that one is grayed out. So the level, the menu, maybe I wanted them in a different order. The menu 0, the level 1, those are their scene indexes 0 and 1. Okay, and then I could close that window. So now Unity knows about the scenes that I'm going to build into my game. I have these two scenes that I'm going to build into the game. Now when I go back to the menu controller script, the play button, I could actually do something for changing the scene that's actually showing on the screen. So here, what I'll do is I'll use the scene manager object from Unity, scene manager dot, and it's red squigglies. I have to use a using statement at the top. So let me just put my mouse over that, show potential fixes, click it. It's Unity Scene Management. So I'm going to click that. It adds the Unity Scene Management. And here I have scene manager dot. I want to load a scene. So this has some overrides. I could do it by the index number. I could do it by the name. And there's 6 overrides. The scene mode, scene parameters, there's all these things. So I'm going to use one of this. I'm going to use the one where it's by name. So here I'm in the menu. I'm going to load the level. I'm going to load the scene called level. And then I'm also going to have a load scene mode. I'm going to control that, and I'm going to say it's a single scene at a time. So that means that it's going to load the level scene and unload the menu scene when I press the play button. Okay, so let's see if that works. Here, go back here. See, I have the menu scene loaded up here. And let's like view it. I'm going to press play. And I say, here I can still pick the ships with these buttons. Then I can say play. And it's going to go here to my level scene got loaded up. Here with my ships. And they're both, I can control them both. Now we just want to do a thing where on the level scene that it picks the ship that I picked from the menu. So let me go to level, and we just have to add some more stuff. So let me take out these 2 prefabs that I made. Let me add in a create empty level controller. I'm calling it level controller. And over here, let me make a script for that. C# script, level controller. I'm going to name the script. And let's start typing the script that when the level loads, that it will load up the ship that you picked for you to play with. Load ship player selected at menu scene. So the way we know what the ship is they selected is we set global's selected ship, and we have the names in this list. So the first thing, private void start. In the start, we'll just, sometimes I may start the game, when I'm coding and debugging, I may just start the game right here from the level screen and press play. If I do that, I wouldn't have gotten the ship names loaded because I wouldn't have hit the menu screen. So here, just when this scene is starting, I just want to make sure that I have the globals, if globals dot list ship names dot count equals 0. Like if I didn't load up those names yet, if they're 0, then I will call globals dot get all player ship names. Hey, that's not what I said. Dot get all player ship names, right? To make sure that the ship names are loaded globally. This, let me put the comment here. This is in case we run the level scene, and meaning like we didn't run menu scene first to get here. All right, we gotta make sure we got the ship names in global, so that's what that does. And then let's make a function load player ships load player ships. Let's do that. Well, load player ship for the game. So here we'll have a function private void load player ship. And what are we gonna do? Well, first, like we did in the menu thing, load into memory. So that we could do with the name. So string name only equals globals dot list ship names. Oh man, list ship names at globals dot selected ship. That's going to be the name. Then we load it into memory. Game object prefab object prefab. It's going to equal resources.load. Just like we did in the menu thing, we have to load the resource. Game object the ship subfolder of resources plus the name only. There, so we load into memory, and then two, put into scene. So game object equals instantiate object prefab. Okay, and then let's make sure the name is right. So object ship dot name equals name only. Object ship dot transform position. Let's have it just load up in the center of the screen, vector 3.0. Okay, and when it loads up with the prefab, it should have the script, so we should be able to move the ship around. All right, so I put this here to get the ship names. By default, the ship name from globals is 0. If I didn't, go to the menu screen. All right, now I put the script on. Now I press play. And you should see ship number 0, ship index 0 should load up. The first ship should load up. And yeah, here I'm hitting the breakpoints if I wanted to see it. Get all the ship names. Now I load player ship. And then just keep going. I see the ship in the middle. There's a ship in the middle, and I'm able to control it. All right, cool. So now, let's see if my menu screen works and takes me and loads me to the scene level with the ship I picked. So I go to menu. Yeah, let me save the changes here. And now I press play. So I press play, and I have my menu screen where I could pick the ship. Okay, and then I say play. It should show the heart ship. And there, the heart ship's the one that's loaded. I can control it. Let's do one more thing. Let's press in a key when we're at the level. We want to have a key that we could press to exit the level. So here's my level controller. Let me just add in here private void update. In the update, let's check for a key press. If input.get get key down key code dot escape equals true, then we'll go back and load the menu again. Scene manager load scene menu. And is this gonna give me a red squiggly? Yeah. I gotta add the Unity using statement for a scene manager. And the load, what is it called? The load scene mode is going to be single. I'll have a single scene at a time loaded. So I press the escape key, it should take me back to the menu. All right, let's try that. Next, now let's show that one. Play, I'm here. I can move it around with my keys, the arrow keys. Then I press the escape key, and I go back to the character select screen. All right, so let me go back and make some more ships here. We'll just show you how, without changing the code, the ships are going to be able to be incorporated into the game. And I just make some new ships. So let me say new. The size is which one did I pick? This one, medium rectangle. This is Sketch.io. It's free online drawing tool. And then I'm using the paintbrush. Let me pick the color to paint with. I'm making a ship that I'm flying, so let's see, I'll pick a light blue. And then I'll just make the line thicker because I'm going to try to just make the colored in part. I'm just making a ship. Doesn't have to be really good. All right, and then try to make some other colors in here. And need the line get thinner. Okay. Just gonna make a ship here, spaceship. And let me make some thrust. Some thrusty thing. And a shooter thing. Just just make it look like a spaceship of some kind, I don't know. Pew! Alright, so I got this third ship I'm making. Now I'm gonna export it as a PNG because I need the transparent background. I'm gonna put it in my assets textures folder. You see, here's where they're just PNGs, and I'm gonna call this ship the bubble TR6. Save. Okay, now I'm back in Unity, and I can see here I got my ships. The bubble TR6 is a new third ship. So now I just want to make a prefab out of it. So let me just, I have to throw it down somewhere. Let's see, let's go. This is the game view. Let me see this view. And also, let me stop the game from running. Double click. See, now I'm in the view for the game. I just need to turn this into a prefab. So I'm going to drop it here. See, now I have a game object. And then I'm going to put the script on it, player. And let's say the ship can move at a speed of 9. Then I'm going to go into my resources ships folder, and I'll turn it into a prefab. Bam. So now in my resources ships folder, I have a third ship. I could delete it from the scene. Now when I press play on my menu screen here, I have a new ship in there. See? Now I have 3 ships. And this new ship, I could say play, and then here I am, and I could move the ship around. Now the user probably doesn't know the difference of the speeds of the ships, so let me put one more thing on the screen here so the user could tell. So let me just scale out to the here. I just clicked on the UI element title. So the ship shows up about here, and maybe down here, ooh, it's a pretty bad thunderstorm out here. The power just fluctuated. So right here, let me just add another text element, 3D UI Text Mesh Pro. And let's say that it starts off as a centered object, Alt, and click there. But then I bring it down from there, and this is going to show the name and the speed of the ship. So I can call this, I'm going to call this text, I don't know, info, okay? Text info. And let's set the text, yeah, I'm going to leave it right justified and center height. And I think I'll do auto size because I'm going to put 2 lines of text in here. I'm going to have it say the name, and I'm going to have it say the speed of the ship. Whoops. Name, enter, speed, enter. So those 2 things will show in this box when you pick a ship. And I guess it's kind of too low. It looks like it's associated with the play button. I want it to be associated with the ship. So now this is text info. Now the menu controller is probably going to have to know about this control. So if I click on the menu controller, let's go to that script for the menu controller. And let the user tell me what is the info. Public text mesh pro G U G U I, is it? Text info equals null. And let's see, show potential fixes using TM Pro. Okay, so text mesh pro UG UI, that's what this object is, the text info. If I want to use it in the script, it's a text mesh pro UGI. So now with that on my menu controller script, did I press save? Nope, I still got a little star there. Let me stop the code from running. Let me press save. Star's gone now. So now in Unity, the menu controller should show that I could tell it what the text info object is. So I drag a text info object there. And now in the script, let's see, when it shows the selected ship, I will update the text info object dot text to equal string dot format name, and that'll be the first parameter, and then dash n will be on the next line, speed, that'll be the second parameter. So for the name, it's the list ships at I dot, oops, well I don't have I, I'm out of the loop. It's the list ships at globals selected ship dot name. And then the speed, I'm going to have to get a reference to the script to know what the speed is. So let's see. The script is called the player script. Player script for the player is going to equal list ships at globals dot selected ship. Okay, so that's my game object dot get component. Let me get the script player dot and move speed is a public variable. Move speed there. So, oops, that's actually what I want. So I could just say float speed, and then over here put speed. There. So that turns on the ship, and this shows the ship's info. Info, which is the name and the speed. So the user could make an educated choice. All right, so now let's go ahead and try that. play. Okay, the bubble is the bubble TR6, the speed is 9. The finger U72, speed is 8. And the heart A4, speed is 6. I'm going to try the bubble. I go to play with the bubble, and the bubble is the fastest moving ship. Woo! Okay, so that's the tutorial. So I'm using the resources load that you can see here, that it gets all the ship names from the resources folder. And then when it gets the name, it can then load it into memory and instantiate it in the scene. And then the way I pass the name of the ship from the menu scene to the level scene is through using a globals class. And the globals class is static, so when a value is set in the globals class, it's set for the whole game until the game stops running. And those values that I set in the globals class are the names of the ships in the resource folder and which ship the user picked. Have a nice night, everybody. Bye.